You have to provide the spaces that they work best in order to get their best work. So if you want people to come in and you want them to do good work, provide the spaces that they do good work in.
Celebrating a century of success, where we've been, where we're going, and living the legacy focused on innovation, relationships, and doing the right thing. This is the More Than a Chair podcast by Business Furniture.
Welcome to the More Than a Chair podcast, celebrating 100 years in business for Business Furniture. My name is Gary Dick. I am honored to serve as the host of this podcast and welcoming Business Furniture client and facilities manager at Bastian Solutions, Elise Moote. Elise is an experienced project manager, really skilled in multi-property management, and led a major renovation. We're going to really want to dive into that at Bastian Solutions, which is headquartered in Carmel. Bastian Solutions is a Toyota advanced logistics company, a supply chain integration partner committed to providing clients with a competitive advantage by designing and delivering world-class distribution and production solutions. As of last year, changed its workplace strategy with the design of its workplace. They went from really cubicle workstations to a mobile work environment with an open floor plan. They've also partnered with Business Furniture and Steelcase to implement the change throughout their facilities all over the country. Business Furniture just recently completed installations at their Boise, Idaho, and Indianapolis headquarters locations. Elise leading the implementation of the change for the organization. You are a busy lady. I'm fascinated. Bastian Solutions, you are a national company, so your headquarters in Carmel, 250 or so employees, major presence there, but you're around the country. First of all, give me the thumbnail description of the company. It was really founded as a family-owned company, right?
Yeah, it started as a family-owned company in the Midwest with things like hand trucks and your very basic conveyors. Through a lot of entrepreneurship and the growth of the Bastian family, it's grown into what it is today. The best way I know how to describe it is basically everything from when you click purchase at Best Buy or maybe Amazon or one of those retailers. Everything that happens in the warehouse that gets your item onto the truck, all of that equipment, all of that planning, all of that integration, software, we do it all.
Tell me about your locations outside of Carmel. I mentioned Boise, Idaho, right?
Boise, Idaho, which is actually funny because I am actually from Boise. I moved from Boise to Indianapolis, so it's kind of fun to be able to do that project. That's where our R&D is primarily located. So that was our R&D location, that Boise project. But we're all over. We have strong Midwest roots and strong Midwest growth. We're really all over the country and international. We have offices in Brazil, India, and a couple offices in Mexico as well.
I've got to believe the pandemic, certainly the emergence and the explosion of e-commerce, has probably really fueled amazing growth.
It's insane. Yeah. And it's part of the reason why my job is so darn busy. Where Bastian's really been super lucky is that we do very great in this segment. We're great at what we do, and so we're growing, which is super fun for me on the office and manufacturing and industrial end to make sure that our facilities meet and can keep up with our growth.
Your performance catching the eyes and attention of a lot of people, including Toyota. So you were acquired by Toyota, right?
Yeah, it was acquired by Toyota, Toyota Industries, TICO.
You have led some major projects, including at the Carmel headquarters. Talk about what has been done in Carmel, the challenges. It was a pretty big project.
Our entire third floor is still kind of in that legacy format. Lots of office, pretty office dense. So offices around the perimeter, the windows and natural light, and then interior, cubes, high walls, all of that. Definitely met the needs with certain circumstances. Didn't look cutting edge, didn't feel cutting edge, and it got dark. And so when we went to go take a look at this second floor renovation, it has a lot of inspiration from a lot of different needs. First, we need some natural light. So we instead took the offices, which we stripped down the ratio of office to just open workstations. So I want to say that there's about 50 workstations in the area. There's about 3 offices, which is very different than our legacy kind of floor plan. And we put those on the interior. All of the collaboration spaces, all of the offices are on the interior walls. So the natural light not only feeds the offices, but it feeds the entire office, which really brightens up the space. The more major change is that we focused on creating a very open and agile work environment. You can see walking into the office, really almost the scope of the entire thing without it being overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It's open, it's airy, and it's more collaborative.
What prompted you to do the project, to take it on? You felt there was a need to have this change?
We are in a weird period right now where hybrid work is a thing, and remote work is something that's constantly being analyzed and adopted by different companies. And the notion one desk to one employee is the right way to go for every single division or group or type of employee is kind of moot. It doesn't make much sense. If you're only coming into the office maybe once or twice a week, why would we have a dedicated workstation? Part of the thought process is, okay, well, let's make this agile. Let's make this employee friendly. First thing is ergonomics. So make sure every desk is sit stand. It could feed everyone's ergonomic needs. And then when you're able to leverage your floor plan better, then you can take that extra square footage and put it towards socialization spaces. Put it towards the spaces that really bring people together and make a company tick.
You mentioned hybrid and remote work. What's Bastian Solutions' take on that?
Right now, we're embracing hybrid work, but with the knowledge that, it's different for each specific role. There are some roles, software engineers, I see them most. They can do their work very efficiently from home. A lot of times they thrive from home, and, that's a decent fit. But there are other positions that are better suited in office that need more collaboration in person. I have manufacturing locations. I need people on site. So I think it's different for everyone. So we want to hire the best talent. And so with that, we want to be competitive in the market, which means that we need to understand that the market offers hybrid. We do that while also trying to, especially with our offices, emphasize that we want people in. We provide that flexibility that I think employees really value, and we value our employees, so we want to give them that flexibility. A lot of this renovation and the thesis of this project and other projects in a similar vein are creating a workplace of choice. So you have a choice where you come to work. I want to be the workplace of choice.
Talk about hybrid. Do you define that? Is it 2 days, 3 days, or is it just kind of...
I think flexibility has been the most important thing navigating these times. It's more of a percentage. So for me, they'd like for me to probably target being in the office 20% of the time. Just knowing that I travel quite a bit and I'm on site at other facilities quite a bit.
How does culture fit into that equation?
I remember my interview with the president of Bastian Solutions. The first thing he said is okay, our culture is a family, because it started as a family business, right?
Right.
And we have a lot of young engineers coming right out of college that will go on site and commission projects. It becomes very tight-knit. As much as relationships can be built, people have whole romantic relationships virtually. It's just not as natural. Yeah. There's something different about being in person and getting to know someone. We have some engineers that like to go set out cornhole outside for their lunch break. So there's something different between, setting up time to have a quick coffee break via Zoom with your coworkers than actually going out, setting up some cornhole boards and,
right.
enjoying your time together. That's a lot of the thought process in this design. It's kind of like a if you build it, they will come kind of scenario.
Right.
A part of our culture is being a family. So making sure that we invest in social spaces. So the second floor has a large cafe with a really fun coffee machine. It could make just about anything, which people love. Also, we have a sectional for people to sit and hang out in. I think people, when they talk about culture, they want to talk about water cooler moments.
Right.
That's the space you gather. I think we can do better than a water cooler. Let's design the spaces that facilitate that bonding and that culture.
You were very intentional about integrating culture in this planning process of what you did with the project and working with Business Furniture and other partners on this. Culture was a driver.
Absolutely. Big driver.
Did you take risks? Did you do things that maybe didn't feel comfortable at the time, but said, it's worked out?
Part of it is we implemented several different postures. So we have 3 different huddle rooms in the space. One's a standing room, one's a sitting height traditional huddle space, and one's a lounge style huddle space. So, you have a couple cool chairs and a sofa. We're taking the time to really analyze how people interact with this space because, as I mentioned, our third floor is still in that legacy design. So there are things that I'm sure won't get the level of use that, I would hope for. But that's where we learn. We're growing so
Right.
fast. So taking the time to really understand how employees interact with the different spaces and different postures and what areas they gravitate towards, that allows us to build that out and better invest in the future.
Yeah. Moving to this new concept, did you find resistance from employees?
Moving from a facility that is very dense in office to saying, hey, I have a place to sit 60 people, the last 50, but there's only 3 offices. There weren't a lot of departments chomping at the bit initially. We had a team that we slated for the space because they said, okay, cool, we'll take it. We'll go in and then we'll take overflow. The thing with change, if it's well conceived and it's going to succeed in some way, once teams actually got to see what the finished products look like, everyone wants to be in there because it is such a bright, collaborative space. The first thing when someone walks in, they say, wow, this is so open. This is so bright. The young engineers love it. They're like, can you do my space, man?
Yeah,
so
right.
I think part of it is seeing the change. That's really helped. Change. There's always going to be a pushback, but I think part of the proof is kind of in the pudding.
The need to attract and keep talent is so huge.
Huge.
Talk about the correlation or the direct line, I guess you would say, but with this new project and its impact on keeping talent, but also attracting engineers and other talent that you need.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've moved our reception desk, our lobby, down to that second floor space because part of it is also we're building out a new Bastian Facilities brand that we want to, I want you to walk into the lobby and say, this is a cutting edge engineering group. This is a group of people that really know what they're doing, and that exists in the tech world. That's what our lobby says now. And so when we do have potential talent interviews, people that come in, I want them to interact with that space. That is what Bastian is, just represented in our actual floor plan. And then they get to see that collaboration. They get to see people looking over at someone on the other part of the 120 bench and say, like, hey, what's going on with this? I think it really displays our culture, what we're good at, what we value.
And it would seem what you have created is something that will certainly survive and thrive in this, whatever it is, this post-pandemic world that whatever it becomes, you've set something up. You've created something that will work.
Before we did this project, actually I came on right before the pandemic, and we had absolutely no space. Matter of fact, when I came on, I got a cube that was borrowed from another group before their new hire started. One of the first jobs that I had was to find myself a spot. And then the pandemic kind of gave us a respite with people working from home. But that's something that's always been top of mind, and that's always changing, right? Like, what does a workplace look like? And I think it's flexible, and I think it needs to be flexible. People working from home have had a choice of where to work. So I have an office at home. I've got my 2 monitors at my desk. I like it. It's a good place to work. But I also love working from my sofa. When it's nice outside, I like working from my patio. I like that variety. In order to be a workplace of choice, we need to be able to provide those postures and those environments as well. Also, there are people that want to be in the same spot and be away from home and family and have a place to sit down and focus. We need to be able to provide that as well. It's all about the autonomy of the employee.
As you look to the future of office, you mentioned the word variety. Would that be the kind of the descriptor you would use? You got to be able to provide variety to employees.
You don't have to provide everything that someone has at home, or you don't have to provide something that the employee can't possibly find in their home environment. But you have to provide the spaces that they work best in order to get their best work. So if you want people to come in and you want them to do good work, provide the spaces that they do good work in.
What'd you learn during the process, and maybe provide some advice to others contemplating big projects?
Other than lead time is horrible right now in the market, that's a lot of fun. I think getting people involved early and having those key conversations. One of the biggest pieces will be leadership and employee buy-in. If, you don't have your leaders bought in, or at least, at the table having the conversation, then it can create a toxic sentiment down. I know at one point there was someone that was like, man, do you guys have to go into that new space? I heard that doesn't have very many offices. Now, completely 180, like, wow, that's a perfect space. Same person. But if you don't have your leaders bought in and, sending a positive message, you can kind of get hobbled from the start. So that's what I've learned. You're
a growing company, so you've got this big project. You want to take care of the people you have, but you want to look to the future too, and how do we accommodate growth?
I have a project that will be done here in St. Louis in not too long, November, assuming that all construction goes well. So it's a 140,000 square foot manufacturing facility, 20,000 square foot of that will be office. And it's meant to last 10 years. So how do you build out a space that's meant to last 10 years when you have such exponential exponential growth. And it's really embracing that agile design. You may not need to put all the furniture in, but you need to be able to design it to accommodate more furniture. From there, you are able to leverage a ratio instead of one desk to one employee. It could be closer to 1.2 employees to one desk. If I put 100 desks in this area, it can accommodate more employees than just a 1-to-1 ratio, especially when, we have engineers that are traveling for an install somewhere and doing a commissioning project. Or if, we have someone taking a week off, going on vacation. Thank goodness. We all need it. We leverage that space. So I think that's how you can do your best to growth-proof yourself. I'll probably be here 10 years from now saying, oh my gosh, we should have gotten more square footage. That's the best I have, really, is embracing agile in order to leverage your square footage as best as possible.
And you've had to deal, obviously, with supply chain issues. How does that factor into the whole equation?
Well, it's a lot of communication about changing timelines. Grace, we're just, as a company, we have to deal with that too. We have suppliers that have lead time changes or back orders, then we have to then pass along to the customer. You're just understanding that the market is just a weird place right now. And leading with grace and understanding. I like the people at Burness Furniture. I'm not trying to burn any bridges or anything like that. So I think understanding what we're in, and then just a lot of communication about what's going on. I was like, you know what? We will not have this by this time, but we can make this work. Always creative problem solving and communication.
Workplace of choice. People want to be employers of choice. You hear a lot about quality of place, quality of life in communities. You're in Carmel, which has become a magnet for headquarters companies, certainly on the corridor there on 31 and some other areas. How important are those amenities around to that whole process?
Yeah, I think that is something that's really changing in the market. It's not something that I've really talked about before the pandemic too much. A little bit, but not too much. But people want to be walking distance, and it's not a new notion, this live, work, play, be within walking distance to everything. I used to live downtown. I love being in walking distance to everything. It's my vibe. But that is really something that I know at least young talent is gravitating towards. Millennials, they like to have wellness nearby. They having a walking trail. That is really key for that generation. This new generation coming out of college, they're used to a college campus. So they would study in their dorm or they go to the library, and then they have all of those amenities walking distance from them. They are attracted to a workplace environment that can provide that as well. I think amenities are playing more into office design and being an office place of choice than they have in the past.
Having success headquartered in the Midwest, specifically in Carmel, in attracting the kind of talent you need?
I mean, we always need more.
Right.
We're hiring. And we are successfully hiring a lot of employees. I know because I have to find a place to put them all. Yeah. But, I mean, we're always still looking. We're always still looking. Thankfully, I mean, we're located so close to a lot of great engineering institutions. So that is lucky for us. We can't get enough.
Well, Elise, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the podcast. Your perspectives are really very fascinating. And Bastian Solutions is a fascinating company, an Indiana success story that continues to get bigger and bigger here in central Indiana. And good luck with future growth.
Thank you.
Elise Moote, Facilities Manager at Bastian Solutions. My guest this episode on the More Than a Chair podcast, celebrating 100 years in business for business furniture. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.